Well, good morning, everybody. Game Time Brian, otherwise known as the mailman on his day off. What's going on, everybody? First and foremost, I want to wish all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day. I hope you have a Father's Day to your liking, a relaxing or whatever it is that you want to do. Um, I know I'm not going to be doing too much today. I gotta go out and do an errand, but I'll be back, and we're just gonna chill out, and we're just gonna kick back, enjoy it. Maybe go in the pool, you know, do some stuff around the house. That's fine with me. Father's Day, but again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Um, we're in the dog days. Yeah, we talk about it, but again, you know, there always seems to be something to talk about when you're dealing with the Dallas Cowboys. There's always something to talk about. Hold on a sec. Gotta learn how to get all my lights on. I always forget the one. But yeah, so there's always something to talk about. Who are we kidding? We're the Cowboys. We always got something to talk about. Cowboys always, um, always find a way to annoy us. We're getting a bunch of conflicting reports. We're letting the market dictate what we do. It is what it is. Jerry Jones, you can be annoying at times how you run this team. You drive us fans up a wall.
I don't have the patience to jack with you today.
Well, I'm not here to jack with you, my guy. I'm just not.
Settle down just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to settle down, Jerry. I'm going to settle down big time. But as we talk, the UFL, I had brought up that we brought in four guys in the UFL. We did bring in some guys. Now, we can't sign anybody. Now, just remember, going into camp, you have a 90-man roster that you um, are allowed to have. You have to fill up the 90 spots entering camp. We are four shy, I believe, of that number. So, which is why we brought in who we brought in. I don't expect to sign all four of the UFL guys. Now, we've had very good success the last 2 years of picking up Pro Bowlers from the UFL. Cavante Turpin 2 years ago, which I believe Cavante Turpin's status on this team, based on what I'm seeing and hearing, out of OTAs and the offseason, he's going to be way more involved. Not to mention the new kickoff rules. Um, him and Deuce Vaughn in kickoffs. I think you're going to have a lot of teams just accepting the 30-yard line and not trying to play that game because Dallas is killing it in kickoffs, which I'm sure a lot of teams who have guys like, who are good in space. Um, so I'm going to be excited for the new kickoff rule. It's actually a play now that's going to keep us involved rather than going to get a snack or going to the bathroom. And then last year, we got Aubrey, the kicker. Again, unbelievable. I touched on it before. Unbelievable. But Dallas brought in 4 players. Gary Conley, ex-Ohio State corner. Willie Harvey Jr., linebacker, all UFL. Say what you want. He fits a perfect role for the Cowboys if they should choose to sign him. DeAndre Baker, defensive back, first-round pick of the Giants, went on to Kansas City, didn't make the roster, or he didn't last long in Kansas City, and then he's in the UFL. Remember, he got caught with the DeAndre Baker while he was in New York. He got arrested for theft or armed or robbery of some sort. And Noah Dawkins, linebacker. I don't expect Dallas to bring Baker in long-term or Noah Dawkins. I don't think they are going to be signed, to be honest with you. I'm actually surprised that they brought in both defensive backs. We have a crowded defensive back room, so I was surprised. But again, these are high-chipped guys in Conley and Baker. But if I had to guess now, I believe Willie Harvey Jr., the linebacker, will be a part of the team and signed, and Gary Conley will be signed to this team. That's just a guess on my part, but I would say at least Harvey and possibly a Conley. Now, they can't sign any of these players, any of them whatsoever, until the end of the UFL season, which is not over yet. So stay tuned for that. I do think we are deficient in the one technique. I don't know the UFL. I haven't watched much of the UFL, so I don't know if the UFL has any one techs. That's the one area on the team that I would say, okay, we need, we have young people, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not good enough at the one technique. A lot of these other people like to chirp, who don't know the Cowboys and looking on the outside in. Teams who had a worse defense than we did last year, their fans like to run their mouth about our defense. We didn't lose that many starters, So talk is cheap. We'll see you on the field, you know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Our defense, it's okay that other teams are going through a defensive change with a coordinator who, Vic Fangio, who's been run out of his last a couple jobs. So, again, there's a lot of question marks. And switching to a 3-4, I don't know how the Eagles are going to do it, but I'm not here telling you that they're going to fail. We'll see. Now, Mike Zimmer, doubt me. Doubt the Cowboys, if you will. They're going to be more than fine on defense. But, I did hear some alarming things that I didn't touch on last week. As you know, I'm a fan of Brian Broaddus. I'm a fan. I want to, coming from his eyes and what he's looked at, I'm going to show you some stuff here. I have a few clips that we're going to look at here. First things first, we're going to talk about, some of the guys that are coming back from injury. Some of the guys that are coming back from injury, I just want you guys to get an update from Brian, who actually watched OTAs and was able to see, and he's got inside people. He's very piped in. Let's hear what they have to say about that.
In different areas. I think my area of concern, number one, I like what I've seen because I'm watching Overshown at linebacker. I'm watching him with the cords.
Boy, he looks big.
Boy, he looks big, and he looks like the mobility and the agility are there. If you watch him there, he's working with the strength coaches, and so usually you go from cords to then they start to do position drills with you, and so it was drop, turn, pivot, break, plant, whatever. They were really testing with the various types of techniques that Overshown could be doing. We've seen it a little bit more, with the tight ends. When you look at John Stevens, and how he was there working in front of us.
Yeah.
It's like the primary people, Diggs is doing a lot more. Matter of fact, I was standing there when they were talking about filming Diggs. Britt Brown was interested in seeing, he wanted to watch how he was running and notice if there was anything different with his gait or anything like that they wanted to talk about. So, okay, I say all that thinking that I'm looking at those guys, a Durden.
Well, see what you heard there, okay? Overshown, again. Anybody who doesn't know, they don't know. Let them. If you're not a fan of the Cowboys and you don't know what you're talking about, you're entitled to your opinion, but it's not like that you've seen Overshown play like we've seen him play behind the scenes. It's not like the Kobe Dean type situation where we've seen him play. He can't stay healthy. I don't think he can play at the next level. We shall see about Overshown, but the sky is the limit. Again, that would be a leap and bound above anything we had last year after Leighton Vander Esch got hurt early in the season, followed by Eric Kendricks, who had 113 tackles last year, who would have almost doubled. Well, our highest tackler in the linebackers were Damone Clark with 70. So just, again, we had safeties playing linebackers. We had Damone Clark trying to make calls that he wasn't prepared to make because that's not the player he is. We had people out of position. We lost. My main concern will and continue to be one technique, but we have plenty of bodies. It's just they're young. And, I think we need to get an update on some of these one techniques because Mazi Smith's an issue, people. Mazi Smith is an issue. Outside people could say he's a failure. Okay, he's had 1 year in the league. I think he could develop into something, but something that Brian is going to say here alarmed me a little bit. And this goes back, and I'm going to play the clip, but this goes back to Mazi doesn't like football. He just likes hitting people. Or, you know what I mean? Like that type of mentality. And it makes you look back and wonder, does he not like football? Does he not? But let's hear from Mr. Broadus.
The one technique thing doesn't really fire me up right now. I know that we're trying to kind of figure out, Mazi Smith. That was the first time I've seen Mazi Smith on the courts. I don't know if Mazi Smith is an early morning guy that knocks his work out, but I saw him on the cords on that Wednesday practice. He's dealing with the shoulder, the injury that he's having to fight through. Schoonmaker was the same way. So, but this defensive tackle, especially the one technique, I just wonder if they have enough guys there. We'll see what the quality is. Justin Rogers was a draft pick with them. And, it looks like he could fill the role, fill the part.
Like the
you
kid.
need to see about
like
Mazi. You're going to need to see about, I kind of understand what Carl Davis is.
Yeah.
Not getting my hopes up about him. Denzel Daxon, I'm trying to kind of figure out what he is. You really don't know what you have until you see the pads with him, international player designation, stuff like that. So I'm kind of in that mode right now of like, I don't know if I have enough one techniques, but I think everywhere else, I'm going to give this thing a go when we get to camp and kind of see how it works. And if it's something that I need to fix or add the week of, I think that's where I'm going to do. You walked me through exactly what I need to do. but I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing from my medical guys, and that's given me a lot of hope right now that I don't particularly have to do anything right as we speak.
All right. Well, okay. So there you go. Mozzie Smith. Mozzie Smith. He's not going to be a one technique. He's a big boy. I don't know where he. This is a big year for Mozzie. He's coming back from the shoulder injury. He's working on the side right now. I think he'll be ready to go for the season. If Mozzie's going to be anything, we'll know this year. We will know. Even if it's just a rotational guy to get through his first contract. I don't know that he's going to be that dominant guy that we may have thought of that he was going to be. It's just the way it is. It's a shame, but we can't write him off just yet. Writing him off now would not be the right course of action. He's entitled to have his shot, and that's the only fair thing I would say. There's another guy I want Brian, and he shout out to the Love of the Star podcast. If you guys don't watch it, you need to watch the Love of the Star. They, they may not be as exciting as Game Time and Prime Time, and but they give you the information. So Brian is a Super Bowl winning scout who worked in Philly. He drafted Jeremiah Trotter when nobody else wanted to. Drafted Trey Thomas. He won a Super Bowl ring in Green Bay while he was a scout, and he's worked for the Cowboys under Bill Parcells. So he knows his stuff. So again, I don't always agree with him. Not to say that. Trust me, I don't. But when it comes to players and evaluation on field, I would agree. Now, one guy that I've been touting for going on a year now, before he played any preseason games last year, was 7th round pick Jalen Brooks. Listen to what Brian has to say regarding Jalen Brooks, because I love me some Jalen Brooks.
Takeaways for you when you looked at the minicamp practice of how Trey Lance has looked, Dak, where the receiver battle stands, some of the running backs. What stood out to you at some of these minicamp practices?
They're trying to figure out a spot for Deuce Vaughn. They're trying to figure out, and they're actually with Deuce Vaughn, and you did us all a huge favor by asking Deuce Vaughn about his.
Yeah, let me fast forward, then I'll go back, because we're gonna end with a doozy. So let me jump to Jalen Brooks, and then we'll finish up with the headline of this video.
Heading into year 2 for them.
Well, in these OTA practices that I've got to observe, the bottom 3 guys have shown up the most. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, Vach Lombardi and I do a show together every Friday. Love working with Vach. And I asked him this question: who's the one guy that people are not talking about, but you're really keeping an eye on? And he brought up Eric Scott. Eric Scott, if you watch him in these practices, he's done a better job with his coverage. He's done a better job of being
Eric Scott's a guy where I brought this up early. It's funny. Now I'm starting to hear other people say what I've been saying. Not that we don't want Eric Scott, but maybe, just maybe, if you're having a hard time finding a one technique, maybe you go back to Dan Quinn and the Commanders. Maybe you go back to, I brought this up 2 months ago, me in Prime Time. I said, Dan Quinn's the one that wanted Eric Scott Jr. I'm not saying if Eric Scott's that good, he can play for us. I get it. But you do know we got Bland, we got Diggs, we got Jordan Lewis, we got the human seatbelt and Kalen Carson. I mean, we got Nashawn Ray, we got Israel Mukwamu, it goes on and on. So if you're lacking in an area and you don't want to give up necessarily something, maybe you flip an Eric Scott for John Ridgeway, who he did not want. He was willing to expose Ridgeway. He wasn't a Ridgeway fan. Ridgeway went on to be a very solid contributor last year in Washington. Maybe Ridgeway's staying now because he proved Dan Quinn wrong. But Dan Quinn loves Eric Scott because not only did they draft him in the 6th round a year ago, but they traded a 5th round in this past year draft to move up last year to get him. So again, let's just, again, it's good to have options. I'm glad Eric Scott Jr. is starting to show out a bit, whether he's with us or we use him as trade bait.
Around the ball. He's actually had an interception in these practices. I've noticed him a far more than normal. You talk about with Brooks on the back end
Brooksy.
and what he's been able to do. I've noticed him more. I mean, there's
Young
talk
Michael
about
Thomas
him.
Jr., baby.
How much is he pushing Tolbert for this job? Could he be the third receiver? You don't see the inconsistencies in the practice. The one thing these receivers have to do to make this team, they can't have 3 good practices and 4 bad ones.
Nope.
Every practice, you're going to be tired. You're going to be sore. You're doing a lot of running. You are going to have to find a way to be consistent every single time you're out there. And right now, I kind of see Brooks has been that guy.
Yeah.
But the last 3 guys that, I'm trying to kind of focus in on Fehoko. They're playing him,
Big
they're
year
playing
for
him as that
Fehoko.
3
Big
technique. It's
year.
hard in the OTA practices to say, oh, wow, he's up the field. He's doing this. He's in the backfield. I haven't seen that particularly. We mentioned Overshown earlier in our first segment, how physically he looks bigger. He's moving better. I expect him to be a big help. I have more questions about Mazi Smith now than I had as Mazi Smith, the rookie. Does that make sense?
That's
doesn't
good, people.
sound
Because
good,
I
though.
don't
That's
know.
concerning.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where he's at. I've talked to people about him. The word has been, what do you expect from Mazi? I expect Mazi to show up and work hard. That's what their expectations are of him. And maybe, when you say it that way, you're thinking, oh, okay.
Yep.
Maybe we always weren't showing up and working hard, so.
So I ask you, how does that sound, people? Does that sound like a player that's going to do anything this year for us? I'm not saying he's not. But if you're telling me he's a rookie who's made a statement like, I don't know that I don't love football, I just love hitting people. Maybe you should love football. My experience is if you don't love football, that usually translates to the field. No? Does it not? So, I don't know. But, this latest, I had told Mark while he was live the other day, I had sent him an article from Bleacher Report basically saying Dallas is now prioritizing Dak Prescott. Again, don't shoot the messenger. I get all these comments about I can't, but I'm reporting what I'm hearing, okay? Now, I'm on record as saying I'm not willing to move on from Dak if you don't have a suitable replacement. I keep hearing Trey Lance. I get excited of the early things that I've heard. Until now. Okay? It's only OTAs. But if I'm hearing that my quarterback is struggling in OTAs, meaning Trey Lance, I have a problem with that. I'm very, very concerned. And now all of a sudden you're hearing, well, Dallas is prioritizing Dak Prescott. Dallas is prioritizing Dak first, then get CD Lamb. I expect CD to be done. I'm going to stick to that. I don't know that Dak gets done, but they are prioritizing Dak Prescott. And I believe it's because of what they're not seeing from Trey Lance and OTAs. The one area you're supposed to excel at, you've been here for, since the middle of, since the trade deadline, 3 quarters into last year. You've had all offseason. Like, he's not going anywhere this year, people. I'm not saying that, but for anybody in the comment section to say, we got Trey Lance, you're kidding yourself until you see something. He's going to get a lot of run in the preseason. But the early returns from what I'm hearing and what Brian Broadus is going to tell you in a second, not great, which in my mind is saying, well, maybe that's why they're saying, you know what, We tried. He may develop into a good backup. He ain't there yet. He ain't there yet. So let's see. This is a little bit longer clip. He talks about Trey Lance and how he's looking at OTAs and what a big offseason, these 2 preseason games are going to be, or 3. I don't know if he's going to play. I guess he would play in all 3.
Takeaways for you when you looked at the minicamp practice of how Trey Lance has looked, Dak, where the receiver battle stands, some of the running backs. What stood out to you at some of these minicamp practices?
They're trying to figure out a spot for Deuce Vaughn. They're trying to figure out, and they're actually with Deuce Vaughn, and you did us all a huge favor by asking Deuce Vaughn about his work at wide receiver in the locker room several days ago. And he was even talking about that they're trying to find more versatility. There has been every practice, there has been one ball that has been thrown to Deuce Vaughn, whether it's been on 3rd down, 4th down. They're trying to find ways to put him in the backfield, move him wide receiver, get him involved. I think Turpin is another guy that they're trying to kind of figure out. It seems like every single practice I've seen him either deep shot, backfield motion, throw him the ball, put him in the slot, hand him the ball. They're doing a lot of things to kind of try and feel him out and see exactly how much they can give him. They're really the Trey Lance battle at quarterback.
Trey Lance, this is it, baby.
And I've been very consistent about this. I want Trey Lance to get every rep I can with the 2s. There's been times where Trey Lance has not looked very good. And, and there's been some throws that have needed to be made and haven't been made. They've given him an opportunity to run some of the 2-minute stuff with the 1s. Actually it's the 2s, but running it ahead of Cooper Rush. Tuesday practice was Trey Lance with the 2s. Wednesday's practice was Trey Lance with the 3s, and so he didn't get the opportunity. So they're going to shuffle these guys back and forth.
All you people wanting Dak gone for Trey.
Going to need to see a lot from Trey Lance, and I was hopeful. I still am hopeful. I'm not going to let 3 mini camp practices affect me, but there are some throws that he needs to make. And there's going to need to be the one thing you will see at training camp, Bobby, and you and I will talk about this a bunch when we get out there and do our shows or on the radio station. When you're out there, the training camp practices happen fast. They are moving. The speed, you got guys that are desperate to make jobs or to get jobs. And so you're getting guys that are playing at a very high level and playing really quick.
Right.
Trey Lance has got to play quicker mentally. He has got to play quicker. There's been times where I feel like that he's a little late holding the ball. I don't know if he's trying to read everything too precisely and just not react.
You can't wait.
But you will get a clear picture of him at training camp practices, especially with this secondary, and you will get a clear picture of him when you get to these preseason games, namely the Rams game, namely the Raiders game, and then you finish up with the Chargers. He is going to have opportunities to win this number 2 job.
I don't think people realize.
There's been some really good, and there's been some times where he needs to be a little bit better.
Yeah, I think the footwork was actually a lot better, and some of the drop backs looked a lot cleaner to me for Lance than I anticipated. That's where I kind of thought he might be behind a little bit. Is in just some of those mechanics.
I don't think the arm is what everybody thought it was.
But I thought that his lower body mechanics looked pretty good, pretty in sync with Dak, pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
So those are positive things. But yeah, I think you're right. Look, I mean, it's nothing to overreact to. The question, I guess, would just be, is maybe the velocity to the sideline as good as I thought it was, or is it something more where he's taking a little longer to see it. It very well could be, this is a guy he looks like a guy who's thrown 500 passes since middle school.
Yeah.
Like it's a guy who
he needs time,
still processing things. And that's why these, reps are important. These reps.
That's why I give him every single one of them.
Yeah. Honestly, I would too.
I mean, I know what Cooper Rush is. I know I'm going to get the ball moving. It's going to be moving underneath. He's going to be smart. He's not going to make mistakes. He's going to protect the football. But if you really think about what your future might be, it might be in Trey Lance's hands. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm not trying to be wet blanket guy here. I'm just saying in 3 practices, there's some things that need to speed up. There's some things, and maybe he is not the strongest arm guy. That's something he's got a big arm and all that. I'm like,
surprising.
You're right. Sometimes the ball going to the outside doesn't have the pace. And if you're going to be a little slower reading, you've got to be able to find a way to get the ball out there, where it's got some velocity and pace on it. So when these defensive backs break on you, he's the one guy that's had a couple of different interceptions. He's had tip balls and things like that. And that's allowing defenders to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, people. Let me switch the camera here. I'm done with the clips. Let me listen. There we get the whole set, baby. The whole set. Here's the deal. That's not good for Trey Lance, but I still like the player. He's got to worry about earning the backup job, which I don't know that he. Again, I do think Dallas is going to keep 3 quarterbacks this year with the new rule, where you don't have to have your emergency quarterback does not have to be on the game day roster. Doesn't have to. Now, the other 2 have to be hurt, but he doesn't have to take up a roster spot. So you don't have a situation where you have a position player playing quarterback in a playoff game against the Eagles. Remember when Eagles knocked out Purdy, then they knocked out the backup, and then they was up Schitt's Creek. You'll be able to carry 3. Now, again, he has to take a roster spot, but he doesn't have to take a game day roster spot. So as far as one of the 48. So that's not great, people. The NFL is... and there's some local quarterbacks around here get in trouble for that, Some quarterbacks are better throwing on time than others. I never thought that he had a bad arm. That was the thing. Never thought for 1 minute that he lacked the arm strength. But watching that, it's a little alarming. Let me, see the football gods. Are you guys alarmed? Yeah, they look a little alarmed to me. The football gods look a little alarmed, but it's a little scary. It's a little scary to know you gave up a 4th round guy a 4th round pick for a guy who's struggling in shorts and t-shirts and helmets. All I'm saying, people. For all the people who want to see Dak Prescott go, I don't want to pay Dak $60 million. I don't. I want to know the plan. Tell me the plan. Don't tell me it's Trey Lance right now. And now, the good thing is we're going to get it out of Trey. This ain't going to be we know he's good. He's going to automatically get the backup, or he's going to be the guy going forward, which is a real stretch right now. So let me know the plan, but we're going to know either his value is going to increase, stay the same, or drastically decrease in the preseason. Guys like Jalen Brooks are going to get a lot of run. I think Jalen Tolbert needs a lot of run. I didn't show you the clip on Schoonmaker. He's struggling with injury. Year 2, already at it again. Man, I want to see this team do some more 2 tight end sets. I do. I want to see 12 personnel in the worst way. I even want to see John Stevens lined up as a wide receiver, even though he's going to be a tight end. I think Hendershot's in trouble. But injury is going to play a part, assuming, no team comes out of training camp fully healthy. There'll be guys start the year out on PUP. That's just the reality of the sport. But, again, everybody needs to slow down on Trey Lance, me included, my partner, Primetime Phil. We need to see him play, and we're going to see him play in preseason. But anyway, that's it. This video is getting a little long-winded. Don't forget, today at 3:30, the channel member Zoom call. I will have the link up shortly. I want everybody to hop in if you guys are available. Hop in and we'll talk some football. These are the dog days. The dog days of the off season, because we're getting nothing from these DallasCowboys.com. They're not putting much up. They have basically shut down until training camp. I believe the first practice is going to be July 25th, somewhere in that range. I think the first padded practice would be July 29th, the week I took off to go to camp, that I'm not going now. But yes, so it's coming, but we still got a long ways off. So a long way meaning we're over a month away from having anything substantial. But Dallas has prioritized Dak Prescott. Love it or hate it, that's a fact. So, but the Trey Lance news is disappointing. Yeah, to me, it's very disappointing. But all right, everybody, I'll see everybody later at 3:30. Again, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Late.
How about them Cowboys?
See you later.